All right, everybody, welcome back to Pirates Corner, episode 7. I'm Ryan Miller, back with Josh Ruga again. Today, we are going to be talking a lot about pitching, a lot about the fifth starter spot, and some other topics sprinkled in there. So the first thing that I wanted to go over today was the acquisition of Jake Barrett off waivers from the Giants. How do you feel about Jake Barrett? Because for me, he's depth. He's nothing special. I mean, I don't think he's going to make the bullpen out of spring training. But he's depth. He's a guy who can be at AAA and come up, maybe like the 26th man on a doubleheader or something like that. We have his stats right here. Last year in AAA, he went 4-0, 2.87 ERA, 42 appearances, and 53 and a third inning. So, a pretty good season at AAA, would you say?
Yeah. Jake Barrett, he falls into a similar category for me to where Dario Agrizal is. Another guy who just got sent down to AAA with the group of the trio of prospects that got sent down with Escobar going down to AA. But Agrizal and Barrett are nice depth. One's 6'2", one's 6'3". Neither one's a really tall pitcher, but they're both guys that are going to give you the potential for multiple innings out of the bullpen. Not ideal for long relief, but they both strike out batters, and they both could slot into that seventh inning role if an injury happened, if struggles happen, if somebody really wasn't getting it done at the big league level. Then instead of relying on Davidas Neverauskas this year, you turn to Dario or Jake Barrett.
Well, I feel like Davidas might be designated for assignment at some point.
And that's very likely.
He's probably the first guy on the 40-man that's going to get DFA'd if we have to add somebody. So, as you mentioned a little bit, a bunch of people got optioned back down to minor league camp. This includes J.T. Brubaker, Luis Escobar, Mitch Keller, Dario. Who else was it? There were a lot.
Yeah, there were a couple, mostly pitchers. The key guys that are still in camp are Will Craig. Will Craig was on the list?
I don't know. I can try to pull up the tweet right now.
Yeah.
But I know that there were some...
Either way, Brian Hayes and Cole Tucker continue their look in big league camp. And just to visit that right now, Brian was a guy that we knew had a little bit more power potential, and Cole Tucker only hit 2 home runs all last season in AA. And we had talked in the opening on our last episode about both of these guys developing power. And we kind of got out in front of this, and we're now driving the bandwagon for Cole Tucker developing power. As we saw the other day, he hit 2 home runs and 2 at bats, and
one
second
being
one,
a walk-off.
Yeah, walk-off home run on a changeup, a pitch that isn't very easy for young hitters to handle. He's going to see a lot of them in AAA this year, but yeah, having that power.
So the exact list of who got reassigned was J.T. Brubaker, Luis Escobar, and Mitch Keller went to AAA. Dario, Jason DeLay, Elvis Escobar, Eduardo Vera, and Blake Wyman were reassigned to minor league camp. What this means is basically JT, Lewis, and Mitch are all going to be pitching at AAA camp. You could see Dario at AAA camp, but I mean, Jason, he only played, I believe, in single A last season. So you'll probably see him at the AA camp. Elvis Escobar, you could see him AA, AAA. Vera, probably AA. And then Wyman, I believe he spent most of the year with the West Virginia Power last year.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see him single A, maybe AA for a couple appearances.
Yeah. It looks like Eduardo Vera may join the Indianapolis rotation this year. It doesn't specify in that tweet what we're looking at. but he is to the level where he has mastered Double A. We'll see where he ends up going. But yeah, just to wrap things up on the Cole Tucker power front, the kid, he still is pretty slight of frame. He's going to add a little bit in terms of weight as he reaches his physical prime, but he's getting close to that point. Right now, he's at optimal range as a shortstop, and we've seen him make some nice plays in the field. But yeah, he looks like he's developing power from both sides of the plate, and kind of expect him to hit maybe 10 bombs at AAA this year, as he'll be playing most of the season there. Now, just to transition, Mitch Keller was one of the guys that got optioned to minor league camp, and he's been struggling a little bit.
We have some stats here. All 3 of his appearances so far this spring have been awful. We were talking about this before we started. This gives the Pirates a kind of snapshot of this guy needs to be in AAA for a little bit longer. He hasn't mastered that level yet. So my expectation is probably late July, early August, maybe even later than that. I wouldn't be opposed to later than that. And Josh also said he's going to be 23 for the whole season. So we have his stats right here.
One of the games that we attended when we were in Florida.
That's Twins right there.
Yeah, he gave up 2 runs in the first inning without striking out anybody. That was kind of, that situation was Shuck losing a ball in the sun.
Yeah, that was one of the runs that accounted for it.
Yeah, and that kind of fueled the rest of the inning. But that ball was a fly ball to the warning track, and he wasn't fooling anybody.
Didn't walk anybody here in the inning. But so his next start, well, not start. Well, yeah, so this one was a start. Pitched an inning, gave up 4 runs, walked 2, and gave up a homer. So that's a little bit worse than the first outing. And then his third outing, he came in relief for 2 innings, gave up 4 again, and walked a person, struck somebody out, and gave up 2 home runs. So it just looked like it was just getting worse and worse for Keller. But like I said, that's okay in my mind. I think that he still needs some time at AAA. I mean, this guy's a top prospect. There's no reason to rush him. And with our good rotation this year, we could have somebody kind of insert into the 5th starter role that we're going to get into in a second. We can have somebody get into that role and hold that spot until Mitch Keller is ready for the majors.
Yeah, my take on this whole Keller situation is he's not coming out with his arm feeling like he felt to finish last season. The way, that's probably a bad example. He wasn't great to finish last season up until the last few starts. But yeah, he hasn't mastered the AAA level. And he had some rough outings at the AAA level because all of a sudden you start facing guys that are 10 years pro, kicking around the minors, guys that know how to take professional at bats. Guys like Patrick Kivlehan, you see he's having a good
he's
spring.
Having a really nice spring so far.
He would enjoy taking that bat against Mitch Keller, the way Mitch Keller's throwing the ball right now. He's sitting in the low 90s because his arm's not feeling alive, and the key for him right now is low 90s can get people out, but he hasn't refined the command. He's basically lived throughout his minor league career hitting spots to a certain extent, but leaving the ball relatively up in the zone, and it's just been coming out of his hand explosive. 96, 97 every fastball, sometimes dropping down to 94, but he's a guy. He only has 3 pitches right now. 4-seam and curveball go together well, and the changeup mixes in there to get lefties out. But basically, he needs to kind of refine that command, become a 2-seam slider as well as 4-seam curveball, because that's where the Pirates want all of their pitchers to get to at some point, to be complete 4-pitch guys, and we're just calling fastball in this instance, 2-seam or 4-seam, and to be able to locate down in the zone, generate ground balls, and here and there get the the movement to generate a swing and miss on a really good two-seamer, get the slider as a ground ball and swing and miss pitch. So that's what Mitch Keller is going to be asked to do this season at AAA. And if it takes all season, I don't think the Pirates are in a bad spot. They don't need to panic and bring him up, force the issue, because as we saw this past week, the Pirates do have a pretty good battle heating up for that fifth starter's job, and Mitch Keller's very much out of the picture when that comes into play coming out of camp. They're going to end up with a talented fifth starter. Mitch Keller, if he doesn't debut until September and then goes back to AAA in 2020 for a couple of months, that's not the worst case scenario in the world. Him sticking in the big leagues at age 24 would actually be ideal on a variety of fronts. But yeah, just to get into that fifth starter battle, kind of lead into it. Dallas Keuchel had a showcase this past week, and rumor was the Pirates sent a scout to his showcase.
Now, interesting thing about the Pirates reporting, or somebody, I think Rollison, right? Jason Rollison?
Yeah.
Said that the Pirates had a scout there watching. Now, it seemed pretty uncertain, that tweet. He was like, well, I can't confirm it, but I've heard rumblings. So we don't know if they sent somebody there or not. My take on Dallas Keuchel, I like him as a pitcher. I think he generates ground balls. He doesn't strike many people out, and he led all of the MLB in starts last year, so he's a guy that you can kind of rely on. Now, his ERA was a 3.74, I believe, last season.
Yeah.
So he's a ground ball pitcher. I feel that the Pirates may want to get him on a one-year deal. If they can get him on a one-year deal, great. I don't want the Pirates to empty their wallet on Dallas for a one-year contract either, because you look at who we're talking about, JT Brubaker, Mitch Keller, guys like that, Dario maybe even. They're going to be coming out of AAA sometime.
Clay Holmes.
Yeah, Clay Holmes. They're all going to be coming out of AAA at some point relatively soon, which means if you sign Dallas Keuchel to a 4-year contract, think about a rotation. We have Taillon, we have Archer, Musgrove, Williams. All those guys are going to be locked up for a long time. Archer, Taillon, Musgrove will probably get an extension or something forthcoming.
And he's under team control for 5 years still.
That's 5 years. How old is he? 26, I believe?
Yeah.
So that takes him up until his age 31 season, along with Trevor Williams. Like, these guys aren't old. I think Archer is the oldest person in our rotation, and we still have him locked up.
And he's 30.
For what?
Three more years.
3 more years. So if we were to go out and sign Dallas Keuchel to a 4-year contract, say, where does Mitch Keller fit in? Because our rotation, unless somebody gets hurt, it's stacked. I mean, some people look at it like, well, if you want to win now, then you got to stack up your whole team. The Pirates don't have the best team in the MLB right now, and looking forward into the future, they have guys on the horizon that could take over that 5th starter spot. So throwing Kingham in there, or throwing Lyles in there, or maybe even throwing Brault in there, even though it looks unlikely, they're kind of placeholders for the future. So I do like Dallas Keuchel, and I know Josh doesn't really like him, but I do like Dallas Keuchel, but I don't think it'll be smart to go any more than a 1-year deal on him.
Yeah, so my take on Dallas Keuchel is he is the 5th best starter. Like if you were to just put him on the Pirates roster, he's our fifth best starter off the bat. If you look at fielding, independent, ERA, all the driving factors, everything he controls, he is the 5th best starter. Now this guy's out there on the open market asking for ace-like money or top of the rotation starter type money just because he's won a Cy Young in a season that looks like an outlier for his career. The rest of his seasons in the big leagues, he's kind of been in the number 3 type starter range. that just speaks volumes as to where the Pirates' rotation is, where this guy would be their fifth best starter. And he's basically a league number 3 league wide. But my issue with Keuchel is he's at past 30 now. You'll rarely see him throw a pitch at 91 miles per hour.
His velocity is dropping.
Yeah,
that's for sure, and I don't argue with that because I've seen it.
He doesn't rely on velocity though, but where does it get to the point where like him throwing pitches at 86 miles per hour is just not cutting it and not getting NL Central hitters out? Because if you look back, he had a fair amount of struggles coming up early against the NL Central when the Astros were a part of the National League Central. He's the guy who gave up that home run to Starling Marte.
MLB debut.
Yep. First pitch Marte saw in the big leagues. Marte took Dallas Keuchel deep because he missed his spot with a very mediocre pitch.
Now that was young Dallas Keuchel, and he's had great seasons in between.
One great season.
Well, there were maybe one great season, but a couple good seasons mixed in there as well.
He had a 2.93 ERA in 2014 leading up to his Cy Young season. And what happened was he didn't have a great strikeout rate that year either. So just to look back, 2014 he only struck out 6.57 batters per 9. He's always kept his walks under control, like in the solid range for a starting pitcher. But this guy, there's nothing about him that suggests dominant ace. He's got one season that suggests dominant ace, and even in that season he couldn't even strike out a batter per inning. So while he does move the ball around, he locates well. Fastball, two-seamer, cutter, changeup, a whole bunch of junk that he throws, and then he works a slider in there somewhere, and he'll throw a curveball occasionally just to mix things up. He has a diverse repertoire, but nothing that he throws at you scares you. So against teams like the Cardinals that just go up there and try and take pitches and get their pitch to hit, I don't think he would play really well in this division. He might do well against some of the other less patient teams, but the Cubs and Cardinals are who we've got our eye on to try and be better than this season. So ideally, you don't want to pay a guy through the nose to come in and be your fifth starter. Essentially, he'd be the highest paid starter on the staff.
Yep.
And on a staff where he would be the least.
It'll be interesting how much he gets, though. Because, I mean, pitchers and catchers reported like 3 or 4 weeks ago, this guy has to have gotten offers that he's probably turned down. I know that the Phillies were talking to him. I know that the Astros were talking to him. And something came out today about the Royals as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But we could go ahead and move on to our next topic, and that is the fifth starter competition. We touched on it briefly.
Just Nick Kingham's change.
Regarding Nick Kingham. We'll talk about Lyles after Kingham. Kingham got blown up early on in spring training, but his
just
last,
the one outing.
Well, just the one outing. But last time out, he did pretty well. So Josh wanted to talk about his changeup a little bit. I saw a video. I forget who it was by. You sent to me.
Robbie Rowland, a former Pirates prospect who now does a baseball podcast, and he had Nick Kingham on the night before his start. So essentially what happened with Kingham is he goes out against the Phillies. He's working on basically just getting the muscle memory for fastball command again. He mislocates a couple of fastballs in the second inning, 2 bombs get hit out against him, and that was after giving up a single run in the first. So everybody's all over him. He allowed 7 men to reach base. He only had 2 strikeouts in 3 innings of work. So 5 runs allowed. 5 runs. The spring training results got everybody all fired up. So next time out, he's scheduled to go 4 innings against the Red Sox, and he's going on the road where home team usually plays their regulars. That holds true most of the time in spring training.
And it did hold true during that game because they had some regulars in there.
You had the whole World Series lineup out there except for J.D. Martinez, and I think it was Nunez who DH'd instead of J.D. Martinez. So Martinez is really phasing into he got to camp a little bit late, and he's a veteran. So the Red Sox have been playing pretty much everybody else. That lineup's loaded with guys that will make you pay if you make a mistake. That lineup also has left-handed batters in it. Kingham comes out, and he's getting soft contact. He early on, there was probably a little more fly balls than I would like, but one of them was a pop-up. One of them was a ball that Shuck made a nice play on a ball that hung up in the gap for him. And then Nick Kingham starts striking out batters. And he starts striking out lefties. He struck out Jackie Bradley Jr. and Mitch Moreland back-to-back. And those guys are good left-handed hitters that you kind of want at the plate against a right-handed starter to drive the ball. And the thing that the pitch he used, especially to set up these strikeouts, was his changeup. And we've highlighted this in past podcasts where Kingham is a guy where his fastball is above average, his curveball is above average, his slider is above average, and his changeup may be a plus pitch. At least the way it played on Thursday against the Red Sox. That changeup being a plus pitch and having so many other above average pitches is what allows him to fit so nicely in this Pirates rotation as another guy who's 6'5", 6'6", big frame, throwing downhill, and he's looking to get back to the point where he's generating the amount of ground balls that the Pirates really are looking for out of him. So anything to add on that?
I like how he looked, not the first time out versus the Phillies, but versus the Red Sox.
That was his second time out. He pitched 2 scoreless against the Marlins in the game that we went to.
Got you. Okay, yes. Versus the Red Sox, he looked great. He was facing a really good lineup, and, I mean, that's what you want to see out of your 5th starter. Can Lyles clean it up a little bit? Because Lyles has had his struggles. But Kingham, he's running in first place right now for this 5th starter spot, in my opinion. I don't know if Lyles will be on the big league club. I mean, you look at the competition, and would you send the other guy to the bullpen? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But something I wanted to ask you about, Josh, was what is Nick Kingham's future with this team?
Well, that's where Mitch Keller's struggles this spring actually opened the door for Kingham to kind of establish himself as Ray Searage said during yesterday's broadcast, a bona fide major league starter, to put himself in that group with the other 4, where Searage sees these guys who used to be young kids who were constantly asking him questions, needing help. They almost needed to be they had training wheels on. Now Kingham's looking to join that group of guys who they don't need that much help anymore. And because Keller doesn't look like he's ready and he's not putting a ton of pressure, all of a sudden Keller just joins the depth, and Kingham gets to become a guy who's comfortable to just settle into his role. What you just said just a minute ago about him being the front runner for the fifth starter, I don't believe that to be the case quite yet because the Pirates aren't grading solely on spring training results. They've both allowed the same amount of earned runs so far and in the same amount of innings, okay, this spring. So in that sense, it is a neck-and-neck battle, okay. But Lyles was brought in here just to see, veteran guy, to see if he could lock down that fifth starter's role. And there's safeness attached to Lyles being that he has made 115 big league starts. Kingham has 20.
Yeah, Lyles has more experience, but I think that, who was it, Searage came out and said that Lyles is the front runner? Did he say that?
Huntington and Searage have hinted at that.
Okay.
And Lyles is also the guy who fits better in the bullpen if that change becomes necessary.
I saw some stats that Lyles is extremely better out of the bullpen than he has been as a starter in his career. That's why, for me, Kingham is my front runner for that rotation spot, and Lyles could be, a long reliever maybe.
Seventh inning guy.
Yeah, seventh inning guy. Even a small workload.
Yeah.
That can go 2 days in a row or something like that. Maybe even 3.
Yeah, because Lyles will throw harder if he's being used in short relief. We've seen consistently more velocity from Kingham, deeper repertoire than Lyles. And Kingham, just to go back to the question you asked me, the way I see this playing out is Kingham's going to find a way to establish himself almost the same way Trevor Williams did 2 years ago, where he was the long reliever to start the season. And ultimately, he ended up getting that opportunity in the rotation, and he never let go of it. That's kind of where Kingham's at a much different age than Trevor was at that age. But, those two guys, Trevor Williams and Nick Kingham, coming up through the minors, they were both very similar, being that they were guys who pounded the strike zone, had the stuff to generate some swings and misses, even more so with Kingham. And there's a safeness attached to their consistency as prospects that kind of allows us to expect them to take their game to the next level, which Trevor has done, and we're still waiting on with Kingham, being that he hasn't played as many games as Trevor at this point.
So talking about Trevor, speaking of him, we're going to go into simulated games, which Trevor has pitched in quite a few this spring, along with guys like Archer, Kella, Vasquez, Taillon, and hitters include, I've seen Kramer out there a lot, Newman, Dickerson, Gung. A lot of players have been out there. Now, in my personal opinion, I really like simulated games. I feel like it just gives the players more work, a better workload.
Musgrove's also been.
Yeah, Musgrove's been out there as well. I like it because you can see what their weaknesses are. If you're on a back field and Jarek Suter hits a bomb off you, that actually happened. So if Jarek Suter hits a bomb off you, and you're looking at it as, okay, what did I do wrong here? Correct it. It's basically getting all the kinks out of the hose before you go into real games. And that's my personal opinion. I really do like simulated games.
Yeah, simulated games, basically, it's a controlled environment. Clint Hurdle talked about it on the broadcast today, and he referred to it in that terminology, that's a controlled environment. You take away the fans, you take away the scoreboard, and you allow guys to work on what they need to work on. So if Trevor is working on only fastballs and he throws four home run balls in 1 inning and it never goes up on the scoreboard, sure, Trevor thinks, okay, I didn't throw those in very good locations, but hitters are sitting dead red fastball. They know what's coming, and they hit it out. You're essentially trying to gain that muscle memory back for throwing this pitch in this spot. It's all about getting the muscle memory for that execution that's going to be so key in the regular season without having to worry about long innings. Like if Trevor comes out and gives up four bombs in a row to the first four hitters, and he threw 15 pitches to those four hitters combined, guess what? The coaches may say, okay, next pitcher, and he doesn't have to sit out there and get 3 outs before he can come sit down in the dugout. And then he just rotates back through, and he's still in the game. Okay, so he pitches his next inning and may be clean, and it's a very controlled environment that allows for like experimental stuff where the Pirates get their players up to speed. And the other thing about it is these hitters are getting an enormous amount of at-bats. Where you've got 3 hitters rotating through, they're getting almost 3 times the amount of at-bats in these simulated games that they would get in actual game situation playing competitively against another team at Lecom or one of the other ballparks down there in Florida. So that value in and of itself is enormous to get these guys into the swing of things. And then once you get later into spring training, you've got the starters ready to go 4 innings. Or I know they're going to want to get that out there like Archer did this past week against some other team wearing a different jersey. But the key is to get into the flow of things and then kind of take the field as a team as you get closer and closer to opening day.
Nick Franklin is our next topic. A role within organization. Well, I mean, you don't know what the future is going to be like for this guy. He hasn't appeared in a spring training game yet. I know that he was battling some tightness in his hamstrings. And he isn't on the 40-man. So we have a note down here, AAA version of Pablo Reyes.
Yeah. And that was a note that I kind of put into there. Franklin has hamstring tightness, but if he was really had a sense of urgency to battle for a roster spot on this team, he would be finding a way to play through it. He would be stretching that thing, doing all kinds of stuff to get out there and play through it. My opinion, I don't have anything to actually back this, any information, is that he has some sort of agreement with the Pirates that he's going to go to AAA and be a part of this organization as depth. Basically an organizational player that we know can play at the big league level. And he does everything that Pablo Reyes can do. First base, second base, shortstop, third base, center field, right field, left field. Every position except for pitching and catching. So that's essentially the depth. Like if Pablo Reyes got hurt,
he would come up.
Nick Franklin would be the logical choice to replace him on the bench, replacing players like players.
Yeah.
From a skill set, athletic standpoint, ability to provide value and versatility. So anything more to add on that, Ryan?
Not really. I mean, like you said, organizational player who can come up when somebody gets hurt, and then that's probably when Douglas gets DFA'd. But Franklin, we could see what he could do at AAA. Now, shortstop, third base is going to be taken up. Second base, it's still kind of up in the air for AAA. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. Like Josh mentioned, he plays everywhere. So that'll be an interesting thing to see how his season plays out. Our next topic is Keone Kela saying that he would not speak to the media this season, and then spoke to the media today. In my opinion, this is his choice. If he doesn't want to speak to the media, then fine. Go find somebody else in the locker room to talk to. But the thing is, there's been a couple reports out there that he has social anxiety. I don't know if that's true, but I saw it from a Texas Rangers fan page that he's came out in the past and said that he has social anxiety. Now, if he does, okay, don't talk to the media. If he doesn't, okay, don't talk to the media. If he doesn't want to talk to him, he doesn't have to. And I guess today he decided to talk to Beer Temple. So, how do you feel on Keone Kela right now?
I think he's doing a good job getting ready for his season.
Yeah.
And that needs to be the focus for him. And that is his focus. He doesn't need to speak to the media, and I think he's pretty much going to pick and choose. These quotes that they got from him may have been a situation where he was just hanging out with part of the broadcast team after his outing, where he walked up the side there and exited.
Maybe with Robbie or something.
Yeah, exited the ballpark to go to the players' facility there where they work out and everything like that. Now, there's members of the Pittsburgh media that would probably, just to have to talk to them, knowing the way they may interpret what you have to say, it could cause anxiety to heighten.
Yeah.
And there's some members of the Pittsburgh media that really have nothing good to say about the Pirates. And our last topic for the day, we're going to get into that. And it's just like, no matter what the Pirates do, they can't do anything right. So Kela is a really good player on the team. He's part of the reason why we expect the Pirates to compete for a playoff spot this year.
Yeah, I saw something saying that. Who is this guy? Is he even good? Like, really good media source calling him not good enough.
John Steigerwald. More of a hockey coverage guy. Mark Madden and a few others have
DK.
Yeah, DK. They've taken offense to it. Big shout out to John Parado for reporting it and maintaining a level head, objective view on the situation, being basically acknowledging that it's Kela's choice whether or not he's going to speak to the media. And as far as the Pittsburgh media goes, I was taking a look at. I usually make a World Series pick before every season starts. So I was on CBS Sports just looking because I like the way they format their depth charts. And I just happened to notice their preseason power rankings. And the Phillies had taken a big jump because of Bryce Harper signing with the team.
Some guy.
Yeah. So I was scrolling down the list. And I was like, where are the Pirates? So I look, finally find them at number 20, behind the Reds, who were like 18th. So apparently whoever created this power rankings list right now has the Pirates as the 5th best team in the Central. When reality is they're probably they're closer to first place than they are to 5th place right now. Just based on the talent and win value that's on this current roster. So we'll see what happens with that. But the theme was the comment about why they were ranked 20th was Bob Nutting doesn't spend on this team. Yinzers deserve better. And the team that I'm planning to pick to represent the American League in the World Series, they were also very down on. And it was basically just surrounding off-season hype.
Who's that?
The Cleveland Indians.
Okay.
Best rotation in the game right now in my rotation rankings.
They do have a really good pitching staff.
Yeah, they have 4 guys that are basically number 1 starters, and their top 2 are Cy Young contenders. Like, if Trevor Bauer or Corey Kluber won the AL Cy Young this year, nobody would be surprised.
Yeah.
So then they've got Carrasco and Clevenger and a bunch of young talent competing.
Who is it? Shane Bieber?
Yeah, Bieber looks like he may win their 5th rotation spot. But they're ranked 12th. If they were to finish with the 12th best record in baseball, that team would not make the playoffs. So that power rankings, and it was just something like What a terrible offseason. The Indians did nothing, this, that, and the other. And they're looking to cycle in young outfielders. And basically,
Jordan Luplow.
Yeah, our old buddy Jordan Luplow may get a chance in Cleveland. But what I was getting at with this is it just seems like it's based on fan hype versus
It's putting names,
names.
not with numbers.
Yeah. Where here on Pirates Corners, we are strong advocates for baseball being a team sport. Okay.
The Pirates are the
is-
best example.
Team is what gets it done in baseball.
Yeah.
It's not just an individual sport where you just look to hit dingers all the time. No, that's not how that works. Because we saw that happen in the past with the Pirates, and everybody complained all they do is hit solo shots. Yeah, because nobody's trying to get on base. So
Yeah.
it's a team sport, and the Pirates are building what is a great collection of above average talent, all heading into their primes at the same time. But to get back to this point on the Cleveland Indians, I don't see a scenario where in their division, who they're playing against, the number of rebuilding teams in their division, Royals, White Sox, the Twins are pretty much their primary competition.
Yes.
Royals, White Sox, Tigers, all rebuilding at the same time. The White Sox being the best of that group that is in the rebuilding phase. The Indians are going to win that division. They're not going to finish 12th in the power rankings, so it makes no sense to even say, oh, off-season hype, I have them ranked 12th. No, they've got 4 aces.
And the left side of their infield is just full of scrubs, right?
Yeah, Lindor and Ramirez, 2
Yeah.
MVP candidates. So, that's my rant that I'm going to finish out the topic with. And the Pirates probably right now belong somewhere near the top 10 in the power rankings.
I've seen them at 15. I've seen them at 20. I've seen them at 25 in one that I was looking at. I forget the website, but I did see them at 25. Now, I feel like they're going to probably battle for the second or first place spot in the NL Central. When you look at the Cardinals pitching staff, nothing special except for maybe Jack Flaherty.
Yeah,
Maybe
Flaherty's the
Michaelis.
highest upside guy. Michaelis is guy who doesn't walk anybody, doesn't strike anybody out, and they paid him to be their ace.
Reds, their pitching staff, pretty bad.
Sonny Gray has elbow issues, and that's the
Yeah,
highest.
is he their opening day starter or because
He may miss his start.
yeah, he may miss his opening day start. Who else? We got the Cubs.
Just
Rotations full of
guys that
Guys
are on the
past
wrong
their
side
prime,
of 30.
yeah.
Yeah.
wrong
And
side of 30.
Injury problems.
Issues. I mean, the Cubs are probably our primary competition. You look at the Brewers, their rotation hasn't been anything special.
They have a couple of young guys.
Josh Hader.
Their bullpen is really good.
Yeah, their bullpen
But
is good.
I liken them to like the Phillies. If the Phillies had like Nola wasn't so good, but overall they're similar to the Phillies, and they're trying to win with offensive star power, and that just doesn't get the job done if you don't provide the stability of good pitching throughout the game, because they may lose games in the first 4 innings this year and not be able to do anything about it if the opposition has a good bullpen, because they're not going to hold teams down in the first 4 innings. So,
All right, well, those are all of our topics for tonight. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget, follow the Pirates Corner Twitter at Pirates_Corner. Follow me, Ryan from PC, and follow Joshua Ruga, all one word. Thank you guys for listening to episode number 7. We will be coming at you with episode number 8 in a couple of weeks. See you then.
have a good one, guys.